Welcome back. In this video, we're going to learn how to pass data between the first activity and second activity. So we'll be able to click on a button on our first activity and send some data that we'll then receive in our second activity. We are here. We have our last application open, which was the one where you click a button and opens a second activity. We're just going to add on to that. As you see here, we started our new activity, so we pass in an intent, an object here, and inside of that object we are passing in a main activity, which is this activity 2, and then we're passing also the second class, which is the second activity. Now, there's a different way to obviously instantiate this intent class here, and we're going to do that because we want to be able to pass some extra data that we can then receive in a second activity and then display there. So first thing we're going to go ahead and do, we're going to create an actual new intent separately here. So we can say intent, we're going to name it intent is equal to new intent. So essentially we're doing the same thing here, but we're just putting different steps. Okay, so we're going to pass in here the same way we did here. So it's going to be a main activity, that this, and then the activity we're going to, so second activity, that class. Perfect. Nothing new here, just a different syntax. In order for us to pass data to our second activity from our main activity, this one here, we're going to use this intent object here, and we're going to say intent dot put extra. As you can see, put extra has many different flavors here. There's one that takes string name and a boolean value, one that takes a string and a boolean array, and so forth. We just want one that puts strings and strings, so this would work for us. Okay, this is the first argument here is going to be the key that we can use to then get the value. So our key, I can say here activity 1, and then the value, I am from activity, the first activity, something like that. Very simple. Again, we're taking this object here that we instantiated and we're passing these two parameters, main activity, that this, and second activity, and then we're putting some extra data. So in this data you have this key value pair. So you have this activity 1, which is going to be the key to retrieve this value string here. So now then here we can then call start activity and pass in that intent. So just pass the intent. This is the same what we did here, except we wanted to create our intent object first so that we can then pass in extras here. So as opposed to just go straight and start an activity as we did here and just instantiate our object inside everything, we just went ahead and created everything separately so that we are able to then pass our extras into our intent. And then we call the start activity and we pass that intent, and there we go. So we're going to just comment that out and save. Now in our second activity here, what we do now, we have to figure out a way then to retrieve this data here that we are passing into our second activity, which is this one here, right? And the way we do that, well, the first thing we have to remember, if we go back and look at our second activity XML here, you'll notice we have a text view here that just says I am the second activity. So let's use that text view and display the information we're getting from main activity. This I am from the first activity. Let's use that. Well, we know it's a text view, so we can say private, it's a text view, my text view. Again, you name whatever you want, but that's what we're naming here. And then inside here, let's just set things up. So my text view is equal, let's go ahead and cast this text view. I'm going to find that ID by ID, that view by ID, so r.id, that text view. Yep, there we go, we got it. Now, the way we then go ahead and retrieve this information here that we're passing in, we start by saying bundle and we're going to name it extras. Again, you can name it whatever you want, but I'm going to name it extras. And then we're going to get intent. So we're getting the intent in our second here, right? We're calling this get intent method, and say get extras. By saying get extras, remember here if you look, we said put extra, and now we're getting that extra. And now it's always good coding habit to always check to see if there's something before we are able to display or work with values, right? So always check to see if this extra has something, because it may be the case that there's has nothing in it. So we want to make sure to validate that. So the way we do this, we say if extras, this extras that we're getting here, if there's something, or if it's not null, then we know there's something. So the way we can do this, we can then say we can create a string here, because these values here are all strings. So we can either put in a string variable, so we can create a string variable, string my string is equal to, then we go ahead and access the values that we're getting here. So we're going to say extras, because remember this extras is holding all the information, all the data that we've passed in, right? So you can extra dot get string, right? And we have to pass in a key. A key is simply the first value we put inside here. Let's copy this activity 1, copy, go to the second one, and we're gonna just go ahead, it's a string, just put quotes there, and there you have it. So my string now holds this value here that we put in here. I am from the first activity. Now in order to display it, since we already have created our text view here, it's very simple, just say my text view dot set text and pass in that my string. And save. Let's go over one more time here to see what's happening. So in our second activity, we created a text view that we're gonna populate with our information that we're sending from our activity, main activity here, activity 1, right? And then to go ahead and get that information, we create an extra variable of type bundle dot get extras. So we're getting this extra that we put here, put extra, and then we check if the extra is not null. If that's the case, if there's something in this extra object here, then we create a string that will hold our data that we are getting from the first activity, and then we're just displaying it. Very simple. Now let's save and run this. Okay, let's run it. And there we go. Go to second activity. If we go like that, and I am from the first activity, it is indeed getting this one. I am from the first activity. Now let's change this to something else so we can make sure it's actually getting our information from here. I am from the first activity. Hooray. Save. Let's run again. Okay, it's running. And let's go to second activity. We should see I am from the first activity. Hooray. Perfect. So you can see, you can go ahead and create a lot of things. You can see the power of being able to send data from one activity to another, because there are often times we may really want to connect activities, passing data between two activities and so forth. So this is a very powerful tool that we just learned. Congratulations. I'll see you in the next video.